Hello, ladies. Welcome to the Venus Blueprint, and this is a talk on Mars. This talk is going to help you understand what you may be attracted to in the simplest way and what it is that you really will attract towards you as well. This has to do with my Mars formula called Mars is Your Man. And through this formula, I've done some personal reflection on my chart as well as through the formulas to discover that our Mars in a feminine chart usually is the man that you need, right? It's the man that you need. Mars is masculine energy, and it helps to separate you as a feminine in reality, because as a feminine you're able to, there is no separation, but in reality there definitely is. Mars helps you to refine your identity. It helps you to see what it is that you need to feel protected, and often is the thing that you might project onto the partner that you're with. So in looking at Mars in your chart, specifically just the zodiac sign, right? We could see that Mars is your man from this picture that I have here. So you can get this graph and as well as all of my Mars formulas, as well as Mars is your man in a feminine chart, in the worksheets that I have provided down below. This is a ongoing process of developing these formulas to manifest with Mars. And so the worksheets are updated. And when you purchase a worksheet from me, you're going to get the updates for free, through email as I continuously do this work. Okay. So let's get into this graph. Now, Mars is your man. This is the man that you need. This is the man, the masculine that helps you to identify yourself, to refine yourself. And quite often in my personal reflections, it's what we project onto our partners because we haven't quite completely, aligned with our own Mars internally. So if you have a Mars in Aries, your man is this very strong looking person. He has a strong sense of commitment to his physique, to taking care of it, to looking strong. And this becomes the thing that you might want from your partner. But the key with Mars and Aries in a feminine chart is to actually embody these principles in your own work, okay? And embodying the physique that you think a man should have or that you're looking for your man to have, embodying these things, this is what's going to really make you feel whole. And it helps you to detach from the bonds where you're projecting that onto another person. If you have Mars in Taurus, this is the banker. Now, this is someone who easily looks for the man to provide money, things like that. But the thing with Mars and Taurus, especially in the feminine chart, this is a feminine energy already, Mars being in a feminine energy. And so there's a lot of insinuations that can happen in your projections with your partner, and insinuating that they don't want to take care of you, or these ideas, when it's really your Mars kind of starving for your own sense of wealth, your own stepping stones of that wealth. Now, Mars and Taurus isn't just money and taking care of money like a banker, but it's in your emotions, it's in your self-care, it's in your self-esteem, especially with Mars and Taurus, how well do you value yourself? So you may project onto the man to value you. And this could be someone who's in relationships where they feel underappreciated until they realize that work really has to become your man. You have to do it within yourself, which is working on your self-value. And what does that mean? And what does that look like for you specifically? If you have Mars in Gemini, you may project to have somebody who's very eloquent with his words, or at least is just really open to information, a studier, and here I say a writer. And so you may project onto your partners to not be smart enough or to not be, adequate enough in their communications. But this is Mars in Gemini. This is you needing to do that for yourself. But in the more way where you're not knowing everything, you're really a student of communicating. And this creates a wholeness in you that you won't project it onto your partner. If you have a Mars in Cancer, you may be looking for somebody who's a real estate broker. Now, this can be about homes and real estate and taking care of the home, looking for a man who will take care of your home, but it also is about like land and ownership of land, tending to the land, and who does those jobs. And so a Mars in Cancer can project onto their partner that they aren't really seeing the wealth of you, of your full land, of your full body even. And so you really need to find that nourishment within yourself with Mars and Cancer. Kind of also getting yourself a sense of what is a material value, like an assessment of your own material value based off of not just how you look, but that's included, but how good do you feel on a regular basis? How well do you feel nourished on a regular basis? Creating a material value to that will really help you in understanding that you are exchanging your energies with people. And if you're not well nourished enough, you actually deplete your own like value, right? Your own real estate. Okay. So thinking about the estate as your own body in a sense. If you have Mars and Leo, you may project on your man to be like a king of a kingdom, but might be really disappointed to find out that he might not be. Like he might actually be like the bishop or like, one of the right-hand men or one of the soldiers or something of an elite position, but not the king of the kingdom, which can create a lot of friction in you because if your man is serving a king outside of himself, then that makes you feel really off, right? So this is a projection onto your partner, and it doesn't mean that we'll talk about partnerships in the next one. But Mars and Leo, right? Understanding that you have to be the king. And this shifts a lot because especially in society's roles where we're breaking out of these old roles where the woman isn't the head of the family or things like that. But with Mars in Cancer and in Leo, this shifts a lot and you're really seeing how important you are. But Mars and Leo, you are the king of your kingdom. And there can be some levels of disappointment because in a feminine chart, you want to be soft, you want to be relaxed. But being the king, you have to be a little bit more than that. So you have to learn how to really navigate in taking care of your femininity, but also standing on that throne and being the king, because that's what will make you feel whole. And that's what will cut the cords of you projecting that out onto other people. If you have Mars in Virgo, right, then you're looking for somebody who's careful, but who works really hard. And you're looking for your man, you may project on him to not work enough, to not be careful with his work as a carpenter is. Mars in Virgo, I use the carpenter to understand that. You have a skill, but you're also utilizing it in a profession at this point. And so you may project that your partner doesn't seem to be really in their profession or in their calling, but this is really you needing to be more complete and be your own man and really make sure you're doing that instead of submitting to Mars as separate from you, because your Mars isn't separate from you. You actually do embody the masculine energy yourself to be that hard worker, to be that person who, more than just a hard worker who walks in their profession, who's walking in their calling. Mars in Libra. So if you have a Mars in Libra, you may project on to your man to not be well polished enough looking, to not have, everything work in sync, right? How he looks to how he walks to how he speaks. And you really want someone who will like kind of be your attorney, who will be like there to vouch for you as well. And so you may find in your projections of your partnerships that they're not quite doing that for you, but that's okay. That will change when you change. So you have to really become your own personal lawyer. And that's actually laughed upon a lot in courtrooms. I've been watching courtroom stuff and find it to be not the most smart thing to do because the common person doesn't understand the law. So with Mars and Libra, you really start to understand your laws, and they're not laws of control over this is what you need to do for me. It's laws of what you abide by. So it's like taking that Venusian values that they get in Taurus, and in Libra, it's applying its own like laws based off of its virtues and values. And when you stand and walk by that, then you will see that you will attract the man that you want, or your man will change, because it will be inevitable. Because in a lot of ways, when we're talking about feminine and masculine attraction, the man is attracted to the man in you, and you are attracted to the feminine in him, right? So that's a whole other conversation. But with Mars and Libra, you are needing to realize that you are that man, and facing that duality will help to relieve you, because you may really desire a super soft life, a super luxurious life, which you can have, but you have to have it in integrity. That's the key here. So your man is the politician. With Mars and Scorpio, your man is what I call the magician, because this is somebody who takes things and alchemizes them and does it consistently, steadily in their emotional space, but also is transforming, right? So they transform through that emotional alchemy and how they're shifting their emotions and steadying that. Imagine, like, I would also say this is really good as like somebody who's riding a boat, more like a jet ski, right, on the water. But the magician does it in interpersonal relationships, in its humanness, through shifting its emotional space to transform. And you may desire that out of your man. So you may find that you project onto your man, or the men that you're with, that they aren't emotionally intelligent. I think this could be all the water signs, but I think it might really show up here. And so what you may deem as really like what you first thought was attractive, it starts to show that it's not. It's like a facade. It's not strong. It's weak. You see weak emotions, and weak emotions with a Mars and Scorpio can attract men who are, violent, who are not safe to be around. So this is one of those ones where you can become a true victim to your own Mars and Scorpio by projecting that out onto your partner. So the key here is to really become that level of a detector and discernment of your own emotions, and seeing where they're good to keep steady, or where they need to change. And this becomes the magician, because as you are becoming your own man and becoming your own magician, whatever are the external things that trigger you, you actually go inward instead of fight it outward. And you start to realize the real power, the real quiet power that you have in transforming, by understanding your emotions and the care and the direction to navigate them, right? The kind of like the boat in the waters, or the magician with alchemy or with energies, navigating how to use them, because you can't really get rid of the dark energy. You can't always get rid of the negativity that you're around. You can't always change that outside of you. So then you start to learn how to alchemize that inside of you. And that's you really becoming your own man. You become your own magician. Okay, if you have Mars in Sagittarius, well, you may project onto your man as well, similar to Gemini, that they're not quite smart enough, or that they are too focused on one belief. They're too hardcore on one belief, which creates biases and prejudices galore, right? So here you're really wanting your man to be a professor, which is an explorer of truth and education, educating themselves through that exploration. It takes the student from Gemini and advances it as a sophisticated entity, but it needs more. It needs still to explore more than what it knows. And you may project onto a man that he's kind of like biased, or kind of rigid, or immovable from his beliefs, which can be very boring and make you want to explore, which is actually a really good trigger for you, because this will help you to realize, which you'll embrace more than the other positions, that you've got to be your own man. Like, you may be very attracted to that idea, and that also makes you kind of like the cream of the crop. Because once you embody that you are an explorer, that you know a lot, but there's still so many avenues through your skills that you've developed that you can explore some more. So then you start to become this like cornucopia of sexual energy and excitement and stimulation for people. So the professor, I feel like, is a very quiet, sexy power in a man, but in a woman, it's very enticing. It's very sexy. It takes you to other places, and so a feminine having a Mars in Sagittarius feels like it has a true gift once it realizes that, yeah, I've got to be the right man for myself. Okay, if you have a Mars in Capricorn, then you're looking for a man who's ambitious, who's not like just settling for, whatever they get, who wants to climb the ladder, who wants to go beyond their limitations. And you may project this onto your partnerships where you're looking for this man to be something that he's not. Maybe he actually just likes the comfort at where he's at. And that could be very, very like troublesome for you. So you may find yourself leaving relationships if that's the case, or you may start to realize that your man changes as you embody your own inner man in Capricorn, which is you finding that ambitious thing that you're doing and really taking over. It's actually very similar to Mars and Leo. Mars and Leo and Mars and Capricorn to me are similar ideas because you have to be the one that takes over something, right? Mars and Leo, it's the kingdom. Mars and Capricorn, it's the title, right? So truly it might be the head of the house or the CEO or the boss. And so as you become that, you also learn more about what is your true authority to control people, where you can't force them. And that also changes your relationships in general because you may operate from a sense of forcing them, right? Or them forcing you. It can be opposite. And you shift that when you really become your own man and learn your authority. What is it you can control? What is it that you can't? These kinds of ideas. Okay, if you have Mars in Aquarius, then your man is an inventor. This is somebody who has vivid ideas, visionary, and you want someone who explores what's possible outside, right? And they don't necessarily have to go for it, but to at least have the ability to see the future really helps to lead you in the right direction, right? When you wonder why is it that some people are just successful over and over and some fall apart, has a lot to do with this energy of a man who is able to see the future and can like encompass everything that it knows it's going on and make the right moves and decisions. This is also someone who's very socially like well adept, and so you may want a man who like has social status. Maybe it's a lot of friends or great alliances or really, really prestigious alliances. You may project onto your partner. Maybe your partner seems to be more lonelier or not as socially, engaging. So that you may leave a relationship for that. But I think that more of this is about learning how to become that yourself and explore that yourself as being the one who's really the more social elite person. And that will help to create a wholeness in you that you were once projecting out. If you have a Mars in Pisces, then your man is a doctor. You're looking for someone who can heal you, and you're a damsel in distress in the worst way because a man who can heal you can sometimes really manipulate you. And so you also may want someone you can like flaunt and enjoy life with. This is a very glamorous life, even though a doctor may not seem that way. A doctor can't put on nails, they can't wear fancy hair or fancy clothes, but there is something quite glamorous about this position. Everyone's watching you, everyone respects you, everyone puts you in a higher position of importance, and what you're doing that's important. And so you may really want that out of your man, right? Also, there is the glam, like the idea of dressing up for a part, because a doctor really is a part. Like there's a lot of doctor like shows, TV shows, and even in Hollywood, it's a very important part. We need the doctor. It's a matter of if the character will live or not. And so you can have these bonds with your partnerships that create that codependency where you really feel like you can't live without them. And so once you really embody Mars in Pisces for yourself, you're able to be your own doctor. I mean, you become the medicine woman. You become capable of healing yourself without any external things. And this helps to really define and refine your personality in a way where you can preserve that femininity, but you're also still very much, well, wise. You're just very wise in the way that you move. And part of you may neglect wisdom as some form that it's not as sexy with Mars and Pisces, but it very much so is, because then you can apply it to more fun roles, and Mars and Pisces can take off and be way more glamorous than just a doctor. And that also becomes a part of your healing. So in understanding now the Mars is your man and healing your man, right? The other thing is to go back into your partnerships and the people you're attracted to and why you're attracted to them. So I had mentioned in one of the breakdowns that when you have a feminine and a masculine entity, the feminine is in the essence is really attracted to the feminine in him, and the masculine in his essence is attracted to the masculine in her, right? And then this attraction is even deeper because it has a level of, well, who made you that way, right? So the feminine is really in this attraction to how his femininity turned out through his mother, right? And his attraction to her is through how her masculinity was formed through her father. So they're not always the greatest attractions, as you can see. Sometimes it's wounds, but there are also really beautiful attractions where it helps, you to develop more in your femininity, in this masculine that you're attracted to, and it helps him to develop more in his masculinity, him being attracted to you. Which takes me to the next idea is that when you're looking at Mars and external attraction, I start to look at that more in a real way, that you will be really attracted to your opposite Mars, because that's the external, that's the projected version of you. So for example, a Mars in Aries will be attracted to or more attracted by a Mars in Libra. Okay. For all of the reasons said, that they're looking for themselves in that other energy. A Mars in Taurus is going to be really attracted to or may be attractive for a Mars in Scorpio. A Mars in Gemini may be very attracted to that Mars in Sagittarius, and the Sagittarius might be very attracted to the Mars in Gemini. So these are possible people that you might date, you might be in relationships with, and that more than likely, if you've ever had a really strong sexual pull towards them or strong dynamic attraction, this is that energy that's pulling you that. Mars in Cancer is going to be attracted to or attracted by a Mars in Capricorn. A Mars in Leo is going to be attracted to or attracted most by a Mars in Aquarius. A Mars in Virgo is going to be the most attracted to a Mars in Pisces, or vice versa, right? The Pisces will be more attracted to the Virgo. Mars in Libra will be projecting its external attraction towards a Mars in Aries, and a Mars in Aries will project it towards a Mars in Libra. Mars in Scorpio will be really attracted to a Mars in Taurus. Mars in Taurus will really latch on to a Mars in Scorpio. Mars in Sagittarius will be attracted to a Mars in Gemini, there, so forth. Mars in Gemini will really be attracted to Mars in Sagittarius. Mars in Capricorn will be really pulled towards the Mars in Cancer. Cancer will be really pulled towards a Mars in Capricorn. Mars in Aquarius will really be pulled towards a Mars in Leo. Leo will really be pulled towards a Mars in Aquarius. Mars in Pisces will be really attracted to the Mars in Virgo. Mars in Virgo will also really be attracted to that Mars in Pisces. So you see how it works. And now I want you to actually go back into your relationships or look at the one that you're in and see if you see this pattern, okay? All of this is actually really well described in my new edition for the Mars worksheet. So go ahead and purchase yours at the price it is. Because once I upgrade the worksheets, which you get the upgrade for free, I also will be raising the price on the Mars worksheets. So that new edition should be coming out by the end of this week. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next video.